Hello and welcome to Kozi Time. Today I'm going to be going over my first 3 days working on the MerMay challenge. Thursday's prompt was mirror. I was super ready to just get started finally drawing again. It's been a good while since I've tried to do an art challenge, let alone post about it, make a video about it, actually begin this journey with everybody. So right now I'm trying to sketch out just the basic shapes of the inspiration photo that I'm using. It started out in my head, I was like, I'm going to do every little detail that's in this picture. I'm going to do all of it. I'm going to do as close to what it is as possible. And by the end of it, it became its own little creation. And there were a good amount of things that I left out because there were a lot of shells, and due to the day time constraint and this being a little startup as well, that I don't have that much time to draw and edit and voiceover and do all of the things. So right now I'm just kind of sketching out and planning where I want the main figure to be, because I wanted it to also be the reflection part underneath for the mirror. But the main focal point I wanted to be on the real mermaid instead of the reflection. And just to make it a little bit easier, I wanted her eyes to be closed just so I wouldn't have to worry about remembering how to draw eyes and all of that on the first day. But yeah, I thought just really nice, chill vibes. I liked her pose, was just chilling, relaxing. And it also kind of looked like, I can't think of the right ecological word, but kind of just chilling by a waterside with the reflection in the water, even though it is supposed to be a mirror. But that was just the kind of look that I really enjoyed, just like a waterside nap. So here I'm just starting to sketch out and figure out how I want everything to line up, because with it being years since I've been in art school at this point, and technically too, in art school they didn't really want us working too much off of images, more so on real life. So drawing from a still image is totally different than my academic background. So this one was a little bit more stylistic, but in comparison to the other three, this one is still, my opinion, my favorite so far. It was just the most fun to draw, it was sketching, and just kind of back to the basics. But that's enough of me rambling about this one. You can enjoy the rest of this with the cool music. Here we are at day 2 of the MerMay challenge. Today's prompt is cosmic. Oh, I found a dryer ball from my freshly washed little blanket. Now, I did do a little bit more work on the mirror since last time showing. I went out to the cafe and worked on it a little bit afterwards, and kind of, for lack of a different phrase, muddied up the mirror so that there was more high contrast on the main character. Now, for cosmic, in my mind, at some point, I would like to do a digital rendition of a lot of these, but again, for time's sake, these are going to be in my sketchbook and live in there for a while. So I want to preface today's with it's going to be heavily, what would be the right word? Playful? I'm testing things with this. So right now I'm sketching it out. But whenever I start doing the watercolor on it, it's kind of when I start to lose personal liking of it, and I'll explain why. So I wanted the hair to look like the Aurora Borealis. I wanted it to have the specific coloration to make it seem ethereal and very moody. I'm not that experienced in watercolor, so I don't know how to do that. Plus, I don't know if you guys can tell, they're not the most quote-unquote expensive watercolors that I'm about to be using. Picked them up from the dollar store. So that could also be part of the reason why I have a little bit of issues. But right now what you guys are seeing is me sketching out kind of where I want the tail fin to be, her hair, her hand placement. I can't draw hands without a photo reference, so especially with it being watercolor at the end of this, I didn't even try to draw any of the fingers. I just do whenever it's more stylized like this one is. And in comparison to day 1, this one is the most stylized, especially considering I have a very different reference image. It's not of an actual person, so I'm pulling a lot of this, everything, honestly, from this idea that I had in my head of the hair being this ethereal form that flows into the water. In my head, it looked a lot better than what happened on paper. And I'm really excited whenever I do this one in digital, because I think this is where this one's gonna shine. So, this is what we're working with before we go to the watercolor. So here, on the left, I didn't use those, but the right is just the regular watercolor and my washi tape. And the super cool vibes from my candle. Honestly, I forget what that smell is of the candle, the scent of the candle, but I adore it. And I also want to keep in me doing the little videos of this, just to show you guys kind of a little bit of behind the scenes. of me making those shorts and kind of what that looks like as well. I thought that would be kind of fun. Now I'd love to hear from you down in the comments if you think that's something that you would like to see in the future, or no, just keep it out. Now, the strawberry guava, I love that flavor, but I kept it as a reminder that I like the flavor, but that's my like go-to watercolor jar of art water. Don't drink it. So here, I was starting real strong, really loved the way that grain was coming out, and I thought that I would be really, really happy with the way that this happened, and the way that it was coming out. Because again, I wanted the hair to be like the main focus. And I was real excited. And then I try to figure out how I'm going to do the bottom in real life, in traditional art, instead of digital art. And this is kind of where I start to question, like, okay, how's this going to work? Am I going to like it? This is also not watercolor paper. And I kind of go into that at the end of the day whenever I record same day. It'll make sense when it gets there. But here, whenever I start to do the darkest blue that I have, this is where I completely lose faith in the way that this is gonna look. Maybe if I added like a little bit more dark shade. Yeah, maybe if I added more dark shade to this, I would have liked the way that it seemed a little bit more. It would have seemed more moody instead of just blue and green. But I still wanted it to have that water effect to it. Yeah, the little thumbs up, that was me being optimistic. So here I add this to make it seem a little bit more like water. Again, I'm trying my best with what I got. But yeah. I know I'm ragging on my own art a lot, but this one, what I have envisioned in my head is not what happened on paper. Is it cool in its own regard? Yes. Should it have been on different paper for trying to do watercolor? Yes. There were a lot of things that I learned with this page. And there may be some pages where if it's more heavily focused on a scene instead of the main character itself, I may do a little bit of watercolor here and there. Not the whole lady like this again. It was too much heartbreak for me. Just seeing it not really come out the way that I envisioned it in my head, because I couldn't get the materials that I had in front of me to do what I wanted to do. But that's enough of me talking about this. I'm about finished with it here. I'm adding the last final touches that make the back not seem so splotchy. And here is Ash and Present Me at the time of recording this to take it over. This is her done for now. I am going to be tidying it up, kind of like I did with her, making it seem a little bit more cosmic. There. That's tear the tape off. And I did want to leave that seam allowance just so it doesn't bleed through, since this isn't technically watercolor paper, if you couldn't tell from the curling and all of that. It's just a sketchbook meant for sketches. But I will be refining a little bit, and you'll see the finished product a little bit later. Here we are at day 3, the end of the first week of the MerMay challenge. Here I'm getting everything situated. I know it's a change of scenery since the last shots, but that's because I had to move to my outside studio because Saturday is my husband's off day, and I wanted to give him space to play his video games and not have a blaring light going while I'm recording, let alone me talking and just all of everything that goes along with it. Today's prompt is hair, which is right up my alley. I've always loved drawing hair, just the lines of it where I can do the curves. It's my favorite thing. It's where I chill. It's how I used to zen out whenever I was in grade school. I would just draw ladies and focus on doing their hair. Here is the past 2 days that we have going, and now I'm sketching it out, because one thing that I forgot to mention in day 2 that I also learned was I started with the tail first whenever I was sketching, and then I moved up and outwards with the body and hair and everything. And for my liking, she was a little bit too up in the composition, like too high, too tall in it. I would have preferred for her to be a little bit lower down so the water didn't have so much space at the top and there was more breathing room in her headspace, basically. The composition is really what I'm trying to get to. I didn't really plan it out too much in day 2. It was just like, I have this thing in my head, I want to get it on paper, let's do it. Day 3, I learned my lesson. This lady has a kind of big headpiece, lots of shells, and I wanted to make sure there was plenty of room for that. So I started by sketching out a giant triangle for that, because that's the main basic shape, and then an oval for her head, and then the shoulders and hair and all of that, because the hair is supposed to be the focal point. For me, I wanted to challenge myself for this day, and it was definitely a challenge. I wanted to show that it was a mermaid through the shells, the shell crown. I wanted her to be like a mermaid princess, but like a play princess, not with a proper crown, but with one that they like made themselves. That was like the story behind why I picked this image, because on the surface, colors are wild, just all of this stuff. Like, how am I going to transcribe mermaid into this without going back in like I did on the day 1 image and showing the tail? So I wanted to go with kind of like that royalty aspect to it, and making a crown, focusing on the pearls and making it seem more classy and upscaled. So this reference image, in the video, it gets really, really blown out by the color. I'm going to show it on screen because it's not as wonky. With this one, a lot of time passed, and that's because I really wanted to kind of just go, like, zone out, just go into my little happy place and set the stage for the hair to shine. So I spent a lot of time shading, a lot of time on the little details, so that the hair could be the main star. Enough of my rambling. I'll let you chill out and vibe with the music. Hopefully, you got a little bit of inspiration in this MerMay challenge and seeing some of my work. Later on in the following week, I'm going to be posting a calendar that I created that is helping me to stay organized along with everything else that's going on in my life right now. So if that's something that you're interested in and don't want to miss it, feel free to subscribe. That would be really neat and would help other people see my work as well. And if there's something that you liked or you would like to offer a helpful critique, feel free to leave a comment down below. I'm going to be checking those out pretty periodically. And thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye.